I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going off what it's telling me. That's what it's telling me. Oh! Wonder if you could ever do that again. That's pretty funny. I want to see if it'll do it again, actually. So yeah, that's not... Oh my gosh! That's kind of awesome. What's up, everybody? Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Stationeers. When we left off in the last episode, a little bit of good and bad going on. We have the atmosphere a bit more stabilized, the air control should be a bit more moderated at this point, and we installed a sort of automated heating, but for now we've set it up to be a manual so that we can heat the atmosphere and we can walk around without our suit, which is cool. However, I did run into a bit of an issue where, well, first of all, we have our power issue. That's significantly a problem. Okay, sorry about that. I saw a weird readout on my recording software that made it look like my microphone was like redding out all the time, and I was wondering what it sounded like, but it sounds okay when I played it back, so let me know what you guys think. So our power issue is a problem. We're losing, well, not really losing power, but we should actually start gaining power now, I think. But I've encountered an issue, and that's that while this looks fine, we've got green lights coming through our APC there and there, and eventually I think this will tick up to 25, and that's okay. As we move throughout the base, I'm noticing problems. For example, this is still gray, and I don't really remember what gray means, but it's not good. So that's empty. I believe that means it's off, so this should be on, and it's not doing anything. There's no change whatsoever. And then the odd part to me is the power controller is connected here, but then the lights are coming on, but then the screen isn't, and the arc furnace is not. Let me double check if the... yeah, so the vent can't come on. Regulator can't come on. Furnace isn't powered. So it's weird because the lights are on, the elevator works, and then when we come down here we get the same thing. None of the lights are on and the control panels are dead. So what I'm going to do is I have it saved right about here. So we haven't really made any more progress up until this point. But what I'm going to do is, since it is saved, yeah, we're up to 29, switch charging. Since it's saved, I'm basically going to re-equip my gear. And what I'm going to do... Oh, I need to actually turn that on. There we go. So what I need to do is I'm actually going to just rip the place apart and see if there's any blown cabling, because I have a feeling that's what's causing the problem, but I don't really understand it, and it's going to ruin the atmosphere. So basically this is just kind of a tear everything apart and find it, and then I'll probably reload to this point and see if I can fix it. Alrighty, so good news and bad news. We have a bit of a situation. The good news is I believe I found the culprit. It's right over here. The bad news is that it's proving a bit more difficult to fix than I would like. Let's see, I need to get rid of these two walls, I believe. So let's go ahead and grab this. This could be a problem. I also found out something about this storage container. I was using it as a rack, but if you look, there's a ton of ports on it. There's a data port, power port, and if we just throw this down here, you can see there's a breathing, propellant, and a waste tube for the air. So I guess you can actually throw the suit in there, have all this piped up, and when you turn it on, it powers the suit, it drains the waste tank, fills the propellant, and fills the breathing, I'm guessing, which is kind of awesome, and I totally didn't know you could do that. So, you know, that's just something to think about. Yeah. Alright, so let's get rid of this, and boom, right there. Now, why I have a burnout, I honestly can't tell you. Because up till now, everything's been fine. And then when we lost power, and then the power started coming back, it blew it somehow, and I don't understand that, to be honest. I really don't, because I disconnected this circuit so that it wouldn't blow it again, because I found that when I fixed it, it would just blow something else. So when I fixed that, it blew something else. So I don't really know what's wrong with this setup. I've got a power going to an area controller there that powers all of this circuit and stuff like this. This one is a different line that powers the airlock. This one... maybe that was the issue? Oh, maybe that was the issue. Well, no, it really shouldn't matter, because we added this, yes, but then it goes to a power controller here, and it was burning out before it got over there. But when I fixed this, this started charging, and then over here I had a burnout, and then I fixed that, and then it burned out over there. So I don't really understand what's going on. I really don't. But I moved my arc furnace out here so we could get some gold, because I needed gold to make... and this I don't fully understand either. I don't know what these are connected to. It must be that the outer line up there. I'm not really sure. But essentially I made a transformer, because I keep hearing that that's kind of the way you do stuff, or the way you fix this, is by having a transformer. And I don't know, I'm going off, so if I'm doing something wrong, do let me know. I'm just going off what I keep reading online. But essentially you come off the battery, and then you do... I think I'm going to have let's make some more cable, actually. I was going to say, I think I'll have enough, but I don't really know that I will. But essentially, I guess the idea here... coil. Thank you. Let's just make a bunch of it for now. And hopefully if we fix this, then I can make more copper. But the idea, I guess, is that we're going to go off of the solar panels are a heavy cable to the battery. The battery is a heavy cable to the transformer. The transformer is any cable, and you set the transformer to like 5 kilowatts, because apparently these regular cables can only support 5 kilowatts. That's what I heard. If I'm doing that wrong, blame the internet. That's what... I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going off what it's telling me. That's what it's telling me. Oh! Wonder if you could ever do that again. That's pretty funny. I want to see if it'll do it again, actually. So yeah, that's not... oh my gosh! That's kind of awesome. That's pretty great. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of the general idea of what we're doing here. This was not exactly what I expected to do for this episode. I was planning on doing something a little bit different, but I couldn't really do what I wanted because I needed more materials. I couldn't get my furnace working because of the power, so it's kind of just a crisis intervention situation. Okay, so we are out here. I did not empty my backpack, which I should have. Terrible idea. So now I have to figure out how to get this set up. So I think the easiest would be to do it like this and then route it back through, I think. We're going to try it. Alright, so this is where we've got the small increase and decrease. Okay, new. What does that do? Oh, left control. Okay. So no, that's not what we want. That's still not what I want, because... oh, we use a labeler. Okay, there we go. I was gonna say, I was like, I'm still not getting this where I want it to go. So let's do 5. Okay. 5 kilo... oh, that's 5 watts, you dummy. No wonder I couldn't get it to work. Okay, so that should be 5 kilowatts, which should be the max that it can handle, in theory. So, with this in mind, we're going to break everything. and do... Wait a minute. Hold on. Is that the way I want to do that? I think so. Yeah, we'll do like that. Alright. Now, at this point, I should, in theory, be able to get rid of... How do I want to do this? Alright, so we should be able... I hope we can dismantle this without... Okay, cool. Not any problems. So we've got a heavy cable going. I think it was down to the power controller. I might want to save this before I ruin my atmosphere, but... we're going to risk it. Alright. So then I think this goes... Okay, so that's the iron wall. That's the ceiling of our base right there. What am I doing? Okay, that's for the solar panels, I guess. I'm gonna risk it. Whew, we can actually get back here without ruining it. Sweet. Alright, so that goes to the power controller. That's not actually what we want to do. Okay, so I'm gonna tinker with this for a minute, because I gotta rewire some of this. This is not the way this should be set up. Where is this wire even coming from? It's coming off of this way. What am I doing over here? Okay, so that's the light. Okay, that's better. That makes more sense. Why am I stuck? Alright, so... Okay, now I get it. Now I get what's going on. So, I had... the heavy-duty ones going into this. Oh, this was to control the solar panel ratio, so it had to come off the battery first. Okay. Okay, that may be something I need to fix. Alright, okay. So let me tinker with this for a minute and see if I can reconfigure this to be a little bit more efficient and still do what we need it to. Okay, so theoretically, who knows, but I've set this to 5,000 watts or 5 kilowatts going directly into the area power controller for the rest of the base. The heavy cable for the station batteries is still plugged in here. Now, technically, I don't know if I would need to do this or not. This is something you guys can let me know, because... without it being on an area power controller and just running through a transformer, it's possible that I don't need to do that either. Now that I think about it, I might be able to just run it into the transformer, split off from the transformer, and come down here, and it still be able to identify what's going on. Let's actually try that. Now that I think about it, that seems like it might be a good idea. Alright, so I am going to have to redo this a little bit. Not too much, though. If I can get in here. There we go. Alright, so what we're going to do this time is... let's bring it around like this. We'll set this one to be like this, and then we'll do... another corner this way with a straight one. Again, not necessarily the way I'd have to do it. I could just bring it over more, but it would still kind of have to go this way anyway, so it's not really a big deal. There we go. And we got some extra heavy cable out of it, so that's cool. Now, let's equip the regular ones. Let's see if we can get in here. I gotta remember to take those panels with me. Okay, so let's grab... this guy, and let's turn this to a junction. We'll put that there. We'll put a junction here, and then a corner. Now, let's turn it on. So with this power, this should still be updating in theory. Yep. Battery ratio, that's not going anywhere, which doesn't comfort me very much. But I don't know if the transformers will act as an area power controller or not. The only way we're going to be able to tell is to go back in and see if basically this is flashing an error or if it's fine. That's really the only way I can think of that will actually be able to figure out what's going on. And I probably shouldn't seal up the base just yet until we can confirm that that's okay. The other alternative is like we had it before, where you would just run the transformer this way and then wrap it up and over. But theoretically, this should have fixed the problem. I think. Maybe. I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. Again, I'm kind of going off of what I'm reading, but I'm not really an expert with all of the cable mechanics and everything to where I know whether or not it is actually working appropriately. So I'm going to let this pressurize and then we'll check it out. Ah, crap. So unfortunately, it does look like the transformer acts as a area power controller and does separate the signal to where it's not being able to find the batteries. It looks like, at least that's what it's saying. There's currently flashing an error. I don't know what the error actually is, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. So I guess the only way to fix this is to actually leave it with the heavy cable there and then do it that way. Now, unfortunately, I basically vented my whole base, so I'm going to have to reload real quick and fix that. Okay, so I went ahead and reloaded this, and we can see now that these are moving again, which means that this is working properly. The transformer is on at 5 kilowatts, so I think that's going to actually work. I think that'll do. So at this point, I'm kind of more comfortable with sealing everything back up. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I did go a little overboard with what needed to be replaced or dismantled and what didn't, but that's part of the problem with not knowing what needs to be fixed. I think all of this was actually done. I can't honestly remember, so we're just going to seal it all back up. One thing I did find is do not seal these up when you're in them. It seems like it should be self-explanatory, but I was thinking that it would just seal it up with a partial frame so I could do stuff on it, but no, it actually is very bad. I would not recommend doing it. It doesn't end well for the afflicted astronaut. Alright, so we got that all sealed back up nicely. Now, let's get rid of these stupid, what are they called? Composite cladding. I was going to say construction panels, but they're composite cladding, so that's fine. What I actually intended to do, this is a little bit ironic in truth, because I just now remembered it. What I actually intended to do was to move the solar array today. I was actually going to move it over to maximize our power setup, because it has been pointed out to me, and it does make sense when you have stuff like this, the shadows of the solar panels are going to be reducing the efficiency, so it's actually better to have them in a straight line where they're not affecting each other. So rather than being on the roof, it was pointed out it's probably a better idea to actually have it where I had it before, which was just like a line or a row. And I think at some point, if you put them far enough apart, it wouldn't be too bad, but having them right next to each other like this is a little too close together for efficiency's sake. So yeah, it's just kind of ironic that I went through all this trouble to actually fix my power setup when in fact the whole idea was I was going to move the power setup. But you know, it's kind of one of those, you got to deal with what you got to deal with, because I was going to actually add on to the solar array and maybe even add another battery backup and stuff to, you know, further future-proof our power supply setup. And I couldn't make more gold, copper, iron, stuff like that because my arc furnace was dismantled, or not dismantled, but it was disconnected. It wouldn't run. Which I still have to move back, but let's actually see Alright, so first of all, let's get this off of the circuit so that it's not where I don't want it to be. We're going to put this here and reconnect that. So light came back on. That's a good sign. And again, we've got power building up. These power controllers look good, so the next step is going to be to fix this and hope everything actually works this time. So we got power, this is charging. The lights and stuff are on. Now the arc furnace is not over here, which, although it's not on, it shouldn't draw power, so that should be good. And when we go down here, our lights are back on. This is charging again, so that's good. So, for the moment, everything looks like the crisis averted, like we fixed it. The big concern was this ran like this for like maybe a minute, maybe less, and then the lights and stuff kicked back off when it burned out again. So, I'm taking this as a sign that our transformer is working correctly. I'm also noting that nothing is off. I was concerned about that. That basically we couldn't do, maybe having only 5 kilowatts through the line was not going to be enough power. Let me know what you guys think about that. From what I understand, it doesn't work that way. From what I understand, it's kind of like you can get 5 kilowatts running through the entire network at one time, which is why you set it that way for a transformer. Let me know what you guys think about that. That's the way I understand it, but it could easily be totally wrong. But if I'm right, if I'm correct in the assumption of that now basically every cable will just have a max of 5 kilowatts depending on the battery output upstairs and on the roof and the power controllers, if that's actually correct, then I'm gonna hazard a guess, and let me know if you guys agree or if I'm safe in assuming this, but I'm gonna assume then that no matter what else we put on with these cables, no matter what else has these red cables, it should never burn out now? Am I right in that? Or do I have to put transformers spread out throughout the base if you get, like, a lot of circuits going on? That's the part I'm not sure about. Like, everything I've read seems to indicate that essentially what I'm thinking is right, that you do solar panels to batteries with heavy cable to from batteries to a transformer, set it to 5,000 watts, and then essentially it's just a global value that all of your circuits will max out at 5,000 but can't get any more than that, type of thing, to where now we could just go crazy. The other thing that would make me wonder if I understand all this correctly would be, theoretically, with this setup, could I actually take down all of the area power controllers and have it actually powered? And what I mean by that is that these are no longer necessary to break up the circuit. Not that I have enough power to run the whole base, but that these would no longer basically be required to break it into circuits and then not overload. It would just be required to separate them for control, logic, and power supply. I hope I'm explaining that correctly, but let me know what you guys think. That's the way I understand it, or I've interpreted it, and I hope I'm correct. But with me, who knows? Alright, so I believe we are at a crisis averted situation. I'm kind of testing a little bit of a theory that I want to check on, actually. So we're at 79 on our oxygen. Now I could probably bump this up a little bit now that we've got a bit more of a regulated air system. But you'll notice the pollution warning is going off. I had done a little bit of smelting with the for the gold, and that's probably where that came from. But it hasn't been enough to trigger whether or not you need to clear it. So it is a warning, but it's not saying, like, you know, oh my gosh, you need to go put your helmet on. So I'm kind of letting it go. Now our power is a problem. I might actually have to stop this too. Oh, it's done. Okay. So I had the arc furnace going to smelt up some gold, but that probably wasn't the smartest idea, because I really should be letting the power come back, though the sun looks like it's coming up. So that's pretty cool. That'll be good. That'll be perfect timing. We do have our area power controllers that are, it looks like all of them are charged, which is probably what drained my battery so much, is it recharged like 5 controllers or something at one time. But everything looks to be holding. Our power controllers are fully charged. All the lights are back on. Everything's working again, including down here in the cargo bay, the cargo room. Inventory room, whatever, what have you. So yeah, it looks like everything is fixed now. I think we're good. So let me go ahead and discuss a little bit. I've gone down there 4 times and I have not put that switch back. Oh well. Let me go over a little bit, since our time is getting a little close to the end of our time. I don't know that I want to get into a whole nother project. But there's a couple of things that I want to go over, and actually it might not be a bad idea to discuss them, so you guys can tell me what you think. So the first off was the filters. I mentioned in the last episode that I have a bunch of filters and I have no way to do anything with them. Between a couple of comments, I've figured out from what everyone's told me that I need a recycler and a centrifuge. Because the recycler, you can put the filter into the recycler and it'll come out as an iron reagent type thing, like it's a reagent with a mix of iron, I guess. And then you can put it in the centrifuge to do basically the centrifuge to separate it, and you get back your iron that you put in to make the filter, ergo making filters kind of recyclable. They're renewable. You could have a couple of them and keep cycling them and keep making more, but you get the iron back. So that's something I want to set up. I did not, however, know that I could set this storage thing to control air, waste, and power and propellant. So I may end up moving this, I don't know, I might end up moving it down here where the propellant tank is, because I have a tank over here for mixing propellant. But I don't know. I'm not sure. What I might do, I'm not sure where I want to put this now, but I feel like this should go next to this somewhere. So maybe we'll put it over in this corner, or I'm not sure. But what I need is access to the CO2 tank, or at least the air filter, even if I pump this into the atmosphere filter area. Actually, that might not be a bad idea, because I have the exhaust pipe for the furnace here. I have the exhaust pipe set to go back into the air filter area, so it may be a reconfiguring of this is required. But basically, I need access to my oxygen tank for the breathing line. I need access for the CO2 tank for the waste line, and I need access to the propellant or pollutant. It's either pollutant or volatiles. One of them is what I'm using for propellant. Need access to that. Then we have power. So I need something to tie into power. So more than likely the storage room the storage unit's going to go down here somewhere. We might have to reconfigure this whole thing to make it work correctly, but I think that'll be cool. So that's one project. The recycler and the centrifuge is another project for the filters, which arguably I think I'll do first. This seems like it might be a bigger task. The other thing is, as I mentioned before, I want to move the solar array to a linear row that's connected to a battery setup, a battery cluster, and so we'll have to move our transformer and all that we just did, but oh well, I mean, it'll work. And as you can see, we're definitely charged up because we're starting to gain power now, so we're pretty good to go there. Yeah, so I'll need to make a buttload of cables and stuff in order to basically run cable lines and move, because I don't want to move the circuitry. Well, I could, I guess. It's just a whole lot more work than just reconnecting, but I can probably run the cabling through here, through this upper area, and then over and connect it down there. So I just need a lot more cable is really the only problem. But yeah, once we get all that set up, I could actually probably finally empty this tank into the oxygen system, because then it would be connected to this when I need to fill up the tank. And yeah, by the time all that's done, we'd basically have a base that self-regulates the pressure and the mix of the gases. Now, we still have the heater on manual, but that's not really too big of an issue. But we could finally dump all of this into our actual storage tank. Our atmosphere would mix, our suit would fill up automatically and recharge. We wouldn't have to keep swapping batteries. It would just recharge. It would refill, dump the waste back into the system so the CO2 could be used for our hydroponics room, and stuff like that. The only other project that I have that I want to work on is, as I mentioned before, this way of automating to where it's connected via a chute, and then down there we'll have a bin. I set up a bin, but it's not really connected to anything yet. But then we have an input, we can just throw it in there, it'll auto-activate through logic and spit back out over there, and maybe automating the furnace. In order of priority, I think the solar panel array is higher priority. It's probably the highest priority. Then to the CO2 recycling, then to the suit and reconfiguring of the furnace area, then automating the furnace and the arc furnace is, I think, how I want to go in priority. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think that's going to do it for us for this episode. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.